Most HVAC owners approach their marketing budget in one of two ways. They either guess a number out of thin air or blindly apply the industry rule of thumb, spending 7 to 10% of gross revenue. But doing that without looking at your actual capacity is a trap. The days of wrapping a truck, buying a phone book ad, and waiting for the phone to ring are over. Today, most homeowners pick the first or second HVAC company they see on a Google search. If you aren't appearing in those results, the calls will go to your competitors. Applying a flat 8 or 10% spend makes sense when you are a $1 million operation. But as you scale into a multi-million-dollar regional player, following that percentage creates structural risks. This chart shows exactly how that math plays out. At $500,000 in revenue, an 8% budget means spending $40,000 a year, or about $3,300 a month. But push that same 8% rule to a $5 million operation, and you are suddenly trying to manage $400,000 a year in ad spend. Managing that volume of capital forces you into complex, multi-channel campaigns. If your internal tracking is sloppy at this scale, you will easily burn tens of thousands of dollars a month on vanity metrics that never convert to actual appointments. A flat percentage fails to account for the physical limits of your business. To build a budget that grows the company, you must look at your actual dispatch capacity. To get the number right, you have to look past gross revenue. Your marketing budget should be dictated by your specific life cycle stage and how aggressively you want to grow. This matrix breaks down the 3 primary growth stages for an HVAC business. Depending on your current operational goals, you will fall into maintenance mode, steady growth, or aggressive growth. If you are expanding into a new territory, or you are a brand new company needing immediate visibility, you sit in aggressive growth. Spending 10 to 15% of your revenue here is literally buying speed, purchasing market share as fast as possible. The trade-off is steep. Operating here requires heavy upfront capital and the physical capacity to service a sudden flood of new calls. Your short-term profit margins will drop while you acquire that new territory. On the opposite end is maintenance mode, where you spend 3 to 5%. This maximizes your net profit by relying heavily on an existing referral base and replacing normal customer churn. But it leaves you highly vulnerable to competitors who are willing to outspend you to dominate local search results. Most established HVAC companies aim for steady growth. Spending 7 to 10% provides sustainable scaling. It builds your brand without overwhelming your dispatch board. Accurately identifying your current stage is the only way to avoid the 2 worst outcomes: bleeding cash for leads you don't have the technicians to service, or starving your business and losing your market dominance. Once you lock in your budget percentage, the next critical failure point is allocation. Many owners take that entire budget and dump it into a single channel, usually chasing brand new customers. This quadrant chart maps out marketing channels by looking at 2 variables. The horizontal axis measures how much trust the customer has in your company, and the vertical axis measures how much it costs to acquire them. In the top left, you have channels like Google Ads targeting cold leads. This is a high-cost, low-trust environment. Relying entirely on this quadrant is a highly inefficient way to keep your calendar full. Down in the bottom right, you have retention marketing targeted at your past customers. This is low cost and high trust. Harvard Business Review data shows that marketing to existing customers costs between 4 and 20% of what it costs to acquire a new one. There is a direct trade-off here. Sending maintenance reminders and seasonal tune-up offers to past customers maximizes your profit margins and fills schedule gaps, but it doesn't expand your total market footprint the way aggressive digital ads do. By dedicating at least a quarter of your total budget to retaining existing customers, you stabilize your baseline revenue. It drastically lowers the overall cost of keeping your trucks on the road. The timing of your marketing spend matters as much as the amount. This 12-month timeline shows the demand spikes that hit every summer and winter. Most contractors react by boosting their spend right as the peak hits, but the optimal window to deploy capital is actually 4 to 6 months before those demand spikes arrive. By front-loading your investment into SEO and content creation early, you give search engines time to index your site. You build digital authority so that by the time extreme weather hits, you rank organically. The trade-off is that this requires strict cash flow management. It forces you to spend heavily during your slowest, lowest revenue shoulder months when your bank account feels the lightest. But that early discipline pays off. Proactive front-loaded spending allows your organic search results to carry the heavy lifting during the rush. You can then save your expensive paid advertising budget to capture overflow demand when competitor cost per click skyrockets. To build a truly bulletproof marketing plan, you have to discard the top-down percentage of revenue mindset entirely. Instead, you need to build from the bottom up. The true operational governor of your marketing budget isn't your gross revenue. It is the exact number of technicians you employ and the number of trucks you have available to dispatch. This flowchart illustrates the transition to a capacity-based budget. You calculate how many additional jobs your crew can complete this month, factor in your average close rate on estimates, determine your allowable customer acquisition cost, and use those figures to dictate your final budget. Allowable CAC is the maximum amount you can spend to acquire one job and still remain profitable. By calculating this, you ensure that every marketing dollar spent maps directly to an available technician who can execute the work. Transitioning to a capacity model requires rigorous internal software tracking. It means demanding clear communication from your vendors and enforcing strict accountability for actually booking estimates, rather than just generating web traffic. If you are a smaller operator doing under $1 million in revenue, commit to the steady growth model. Use Google local service ads to gain immediate, highly trackable traction while you build out your internal processes. If your agency provides reports full of impressions but fails to show the cost per booked job, stop adding money to the budget and start fixing the reporting. Digital impressions do not dispatch trucks, only booked jobs do. Until you fix your internal tracking to measure your true dispatch capacity and exact acquisition costs, adding more money to your marketing budget will not scale your business. It will only scale your waste.